Hello family, welcome to my channel. As you already know, my name is Azuma. I'm a mother, a fashion designer, and an advocate of self-empowerment and well-being. My mission is to just share my experiences, be it love, be it spirituality, be it relationships, and just allow it to be out there, and if it resonates with anybody and it helps them along their journey, that's brilliant. That's all I can ask for. Today I'm going to be doing a segment on being at one with decisions when you feel you have no other choice but to make changes that are solely for your own well-being and for your higher good, and as a result can lead to the demise of a relationship or even throw you into an arena or onto a new path that you may not have considered for yourself. No matter what it is, whatever leaves you in a state of confusion, you can't make heads or tails of it, anything that leaves you feeling depleted emotionally, imbalanced, sad, the truth is you don't have to hold on to these things. The fact that these types of feelings leave you out of sorts is a red flag for me. That's the new enlightened version of me, I might add. Once upon a time, I would have ignored those feelings and would have let the head and the mind rule. I mean, at some point in all of our lives, we haven't trusted our own intuition when it's been quietly speaking to us and telling us to heed what we're feeling. The important thing is to take note when you finally hear that voice. The key is to develop a mindset that is in tune to how you are feeling. Not necessarily what you're thinking, but how you're feeling. And once you know the things that bring you balanced into your life, it's easier to stay in alignment with what's for you and what isn't, basically. I mean, this same theory can work in any area in your life. And you'll see later on in this video how by being selfless, putting yourself last, turning your eyes away from things that are staring you in your face, turning away from them in the name of whatever. Oh, I love him, I love her, she's a great cook, he's Mr. Lover Lover. All of that is a recipe for disaster, because the soul knows what and who you are and what will make you really happy, what we really truly need in order to be our fullest self. And it will keep calling us and calling the said thing into our lives. It's our own free will that will stop us from looking up from all that discord and taking note. But the great thing is, once we are awakened, there's usually no turning back. You'll be like, what the soul wants, the soul gets. I mean, because fundamentally, the soul is you at the core. Hindsight is a beautiful thing, baby. So I've had a really changeable 2020. So many things have changed in my life. Some great, some not so great. But all life-changing, to say the least. First was the end of my brand Bestowerland, which I've spoken at length about in previous videos. The second massive change in 2020 was the surprising, well, not so surprising, end of my 23-year-long relationship. I mean, some people thought this happened really suddenly. But I'd always say, yes, it may have seemed sudden, but is it really sudden? There's always underlying issues in these situations that you'll attribute to why things change, or even why you might even feel a bit disjointed or spent too much time in your head regarding a certain person or situation, or you just can't feel relaxed in your own skin no matter how you attempted to do this. something in you would always be a bit protective over yourself, especially around certain people or in certain environments. You know, it's always there. There's always those underlying things. You might not be conscious of them, but they're there. Now, the situation was more poignant for me because I'm an empath and I feel things quite deeply. On top of that, I read energies really easily. So no amount of self-talk or external conversation, gaslighting or, brushing anything under the carpet is really going to convince me at my core that what I'm feeling is incorrect. It doesn't work like that. I mean, I might outwardly decide to squash any confrontation or an argument, or that empath for me might not be able to watch another person squirm. So would alleviate their discomfort by not letting them know that I've caught on to their little deceitful hearts. But truth be known, I see you. But I mean, how long can somebody cause themselves pain by turning away from something that doesn't feel right in your soul? In my case, I guess a long time. And in hindsight, I can see why, people fall in love with the potential of how things can be rather than the actual reality. And because of this, you create illusions of what a relationship is, and you confuse the reality with the illusion. Let me give you an example. I guess you could meet somebody and they may portray themselves as something else. Something like, oh, they're a really creative person and are pursuing a creative path like yourself. But, as time goes by, you realize, they're nothing like the person I met. They've not ever made any effort to actually become that creative person. That person you were sold on in the beginning. Some may think nothing of this situation, but know this is a sign and a small indication into the nature of the person. If that person's not going to invest the time to become this person and the thing that they say they desire, how on earth are they going to be able to fulfill any of your hopes and mutual dreams? So if someone shows you who they are from the jump and you think their actions don't match their words, do not, and I repeat, do not fall for the illusion of what you want to see. Otherwise you're going to be like crying into your soup 23 years later, wondering why you didn't heed the red flags. Truth is, these will be the exact things that attribute to the end of your relationship. And to make matters worse, you'll probably remember the first occasion when you saw that trait and probably berate yourself for not digging deeper to see what else was being flagged up. Why didn't I listen to that inner voice, you might think? It happens. It sure happened to me. But the great thing is, after all is said and done, you get to reacquaint yourself with who you truly are, who you are at the core. You feel more balanced, and more importantly, you'll remember. It's like you'll remember and refine aspects of who you truly are before situations, things, people convinced you otherwise. You'll most definitely be able to sniff out bullshit a mile away. You'll have experience under your belt, therefore you can recognize anything that resembles the experiences you've had or just come out of. But most of all, you don't have to lose any time entertaining what doesn't elevate you or what doesn't feel correct. You You don't have to entertain any idea of what something could potentially be, and just look at things at face value, at what is being presented to you. What I did find was, by remaining in something that was no longer aligned to you or bringing you joy, it's like equivalent to consciously staying somewhere where you feel you can't grow any further. The choices you're being led to make are coming from your inner guidance system. It might appear on the surface that you're doing something selfish or irresponsible, or others might have developed a mindset that you're always going to be around to accept their bullshit. But don't let that distract you. When you know it's time, it's time. You may even experience feelings of anxiousness and, of course, fear. It's inevitable. But know this, the downloads you're receiving is coming from your higher self. So you have to make the choice to follow your intuitive nudges. You won't regret it. I didn't. I was always familiar with things like meditation, affirmations. I had a decent relationship with spirit. I was able to manifest certain things when I wanted to, but I always knew there was more I could do so that I can hear my inner guidance readily. So I decided to take the time to do it. And oh my, did I ever hear the guidance. In replacement of the self-doubt came a clarity that I knew I could trust. No longer could I accept things that I knew in my heart of hearts knew to be true or false, depending on which it was. I started feeling that anxious feeling that I was getting around certain people was my spirit repelling them. I started reading individuals clearly, not how they want me to perceive them as, but how they truly were. You're not going to want to lie to yourself in any shape or form. You won't want to put anyone's feelings before your own anymore. You're not going to make excuses also for people's behaviour. All of this is part of all of this is self-love, and you can't continue deceiving yourself by telling your higher self that you can't hear or recognise the messages that it's giving to you. If people want to change, they will. So if they can never do good on their word, this is also indicative of who they are and their character. So there's no need for excuses. There's no obligation to continue being, the person that you've always been, or with any situation that doesn't resonate with you. The signs become very apparent when change is definitely needed. You might try and put the signs down to other things. God, I know exactly what that feels like. If you can imagine the feelings and the different excuses I gave them in order for me to maintain what I had and stay in that sort of unfulfilled place. But a good way to really recognise when the universe is speaking to you is to be aware how often you feel that feeling that change needs to happen. Feeling like you're in a repetitive cycle that keeps repeating it, and no matter what you do, the issues that are there just don't seem to resolve themselves. Examine how you would feel if the situations continue to stay as they are. Would it make you happy? It's all uncomfortable. Any uncomfortable feeling that comes up for you during this period is to come up to trigger you, and for you to recognize them and heal them and integrate them into your existence. That's all. It's not something to fear or to, try and squash. For me, I'm learning on a daily basis how important it is to have a reference point to measure how I'm feeling. To have the self-awareness to recognize what state certain things left me in and what feelings they conjured up. And to have this at hand is the best way to maintain your equilibrium and have yourself in alignment with the things that keep you in the place of joy. So there are a few things that I find accelerates the process. Firstly, I suggest you should take a little time to write a list of all the things that are in your awareness that you need to keep you feeling happy, to feel in your joy, to feel valued, be aligned with who you are. All the things that keep you on your A game. These can include things like I need to feel appreciated. I need to have positive conversations. I need people in my life to always be honest. The list can go on, that type of thing. I mean, I took it a step further. I wrote a list of all the things that were in my awareness that left me feeling unhappy, insecure, unheard, unfulfilled, etc. Once I was aware of these things, I realized how out of sorts my life was with my true desires. And there came the realization. I'd been proceeding through life in illusion of how I was hoping the situation to be, rather than what it was. I allowed things to just play out rather than having a conscious effort and putting the effort into how I wanted my life to be. By not having a clear insight into what I truly needed in order to be whole, I was operating from a more of a mindset place. I was thinking about the things rather than knowing what felt right in my soul and what I truly desired for myself. Therefore, I wasn't feeling from a heart place. So once you have these things clear in your mind, you can easily measure what circumstances, behaviours, occurrences you can tolerate or not. I use the word tolerate, but I don't mean it in a confrontational type of way. I just mean you'd be able to predetermine your reactions and know immediately, I can't deal with this, or I can deal with this. And if it doesn't align with your needs, you can therefore adopt a more compassionate sort of stance for the person, yourself, and anything that's involved in a situation. This one's a bit challenging for me because I know I can be like a dog with a bone when I get an idea or an ideal in my mind. If I intend to bring something to fruition, sometimes my self-belief outweighs everything and blinds me from the truth of the situation. And it keeps me on that treadmill of trying to make something work, trying to work it out, trying to get to a solution. Often enough, a solution can't be made. Therefore, there's no point staying on that treadmill. So if you're anything like me, give yourself an honest, realistic timeline to reach the intended goals. Are there signs that these changes that are needed are taking place? Are you being compliant in an illusion by not recognizing that certain actions aren't matching the results you're seeking? Or you're just not making the changes to turn around an outcome? These are all the signs I think are necessary. So with all that newfound freedom in who I'd become and what I was becoming, my sensitivity and downloads I was getting from the divine was so loud. I knew I had no choice but to listen, heed, when all the questions that I had been asking my higher self for a long time were finally answered. To be quite honest, I guess they were being answered from a long time ago, and until you're ready to hear them and accept them, you'll ignore them. You won't have it. But it finally came through as clear as day, and I had no choice but to take heed. So I put the demise of my relationship down to my ancestors and my higher being. They've always been there trying to direct me, and of course, once I listened, they took me from one path and directed me onto another one. If you're asking for one thing and it's not materializing in your present world or present relationship, and you feel that you're being asked to move on to something else, you have to listen and just know that it's for your higher self, and it's so that you can reach the end goal that you say you want to. You can't keep holding on to things that you know will never be more than what they are. That's just the truth of it all. That would be self-deception. Right. This one you're going to have to try with all your might to remove all judgment, to forgive yourself, the other person, and also for not adhering to your intuition sooner. You might be upset you didn't follow your inner guidance sooner than you did. Obviously, this is all once you've taken your life into your own hands and moved on. It's a bit of a sore point for me, I have to say. But our nature as humans is we tend to hold on to things and don't like to move on from things very easily. Even if in some case it brings us unfulfillment or unhappiness. But the great thing is, once you come out on the other side, healed, or on that road of self-healing, full of self-love, feelings of empowerment and that childlike happiness that you had before things got all jaded, reappears, fills you up like nothing you felt before. That love that you've spent eternity seeking outside of yourself just reappears. It's always been there. It's always been there, residing in you, trying to call you back to yourself, back to you. And that, my friends, transcends any thoughts of anger, any ego-based self-deprivation, self-sabotaging thoughts that we sometimes have. The love we're all seeking is simply the love for self. So in a world of illusions, delusions, distractions, it's more imperative for us all to do the inner work and be at one with ourselves. Because once you do, all the things that your soul came here to experience and enjoy will come to the fore. And all the other things that used to just trigger you and annoy you will become less of a hindrance. And you'll find new ways to seek your joy. So obviously, if you're seeking joy, seeking your highest joy, you're not going to keep yourself stuck in situations that no longer bring you joy. So that's a bit of a long one, but I could have gone on and on and on. I really enjoyed it. I hope it's useful to some of you and you can find a nugget in there somewhere. The joy that we are seeking, the love that we are seeking is within. So on that note, namaste, my people.